Japan Coach, ways to make living and working in Japan the amazing experience it should be. Hi, welcome to Japan Coach. I'm Paul Durant, and this week I wanted to talk a little bit about two words, problem and solution. I think that these two words kind of illustrate a fundamental difference between Japanese and particularly American thinking. Probably on some lesser degrees, also thinking in various parts of Europe or even other parts of Asia. In fact, I find that US and China are often very similar in this regard, and China and Japan are very different, very divergent. Well, let me get into it a little bit. So basically, in broad strokes, Japanese companies or Japanese business in general tends to try to focus on identifying the problem in a given situation. If things are not working out, they need to know why they're not working out, and they'll go very deep into that. There's a famous business analysis called 5 Whys. It was invented by Toyota, but it really is pretty standard Japanese thinking when it comes to problem solving. And the 5 Whys, if you haven't used it before, basically is designed to get to the root of a problem. So you have a problem, you ask why, and then you have the answer to that why. Then you ask why for that, and then you go further and further back 5 times. Supposedly by the 5th time, you have arrived at the root or the real problem. So the Japanese companies and Japanese business in general will spend a lot of time focusing on identifying that problem. It takes a long time. It's an analysis that needs to be proven, and therefore they're going to spend a lot of time really looking back and seeing what that problem is. By contrast, American business, American companies in general, tend to focus on solution. So what happens here is they see a problem, and immediately they're looking for the solution. How do we solve this problem? What are we going to do to solve the problem? They don't analyze the problem. They don't get very deep into the problem. They start throwing solutions at the problem. See what sticks. These are two very different approaches to problem solving, obviously. And it's interesting because maybe in the long run, maybe they're 50-50, because the Japanese will spend a lot more time focusing on the problem. Once they have identified the real problem, they usually solve it pretty quickly, and they move very fast to solve it. American companies tend to move quickly initially, throwing solutions at a problem, but maybe they really haven't identified the root cause of the problem, so the problem keeps reappearing, or the solutions don't really address the real problem. Well, then they've got to try to solve it again, and that takes time. So the American company will look more active and maybe even more proactive because they're actually enacting some sort of solution, even though it may be not really ideal or designed to the problem specifically. Japanese companies will look very much dogmatic and very slow to react because they're spending all that time really focusing on the problem. Well, in the end, who solves the problem faster? I don't know. I would say it's probably it's a crapshoot. But it's important to be aware of those differences, how you address problems, because going either way, for a Japanese in American culture, it's going to be very difficult to deal with this idea of focusing on solutions, finding solutions, cutting to the chase. And for an American in a Japanese company, it's going to be difficult to analyze and look in ad nauseum into the problem before doing some action. So which one is better? It doesn't matter. I'm not here to answer that question. And it really doesn't matter anyway, because both cultures are going to do what they're going to do. But those are some points that you could use to sort of be aware of how your Japanese or American counterparts are reacting to problems. So thanks for joining me on Japan Coach this week. I'm Paul Durant, and I hope to see you again next week on the next episode of Japan Coach. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to answer any questions you have if I can. And if I can't, maybe I'll try to look into it to get a solution that's good for you and for me. So please ask anything you would like, anything you'd like. Make a comment. If you disagree with me, sure, I'd love to hear about it. But would love to hear your perspectives and opinions too. So thanks for joining me this week. Remember to subscribe, and hope to see you soon on the next edition of Japan Coach.